My name is Muliati from Center for Academic Excellence and Scholarship, University Technical Malaysia, Melaka. And with me, we have Professor Dr. R. Shaktivel from Bharathiar University, Coimbatore, India. And also we do have the Director for Center Excellence for CAES, Center for Academic Excellence and Scholarship, Associate Professor Dr. Muhammad Shakir Muhammad Saad. Hi, how are you, everyone? All right, so ladies and gentlemen, today we are very glad to have all of you here, as this we call the Expert Talk Series. TExT is the, I would say, the inaugural event for this year in 2023. So before I go further, let me just actually give you the brief introduction of our event today. All right, so creating cultures of excellence, plans and upshot. Whenever actually we talk about research is very essential in advancing society, strengthening the economy, and at the same time driving innovation and addressing challenging and the problem that we face today. All right, so the main factors that determine the culture of excellence in research are mostly institutional, individual, and also leadership. So therefore, we hope that by having these TExT, I would say the Expert Talk series, it will help us to address a few issues, or to actually to enlighten a few issues. For example, to explore the plans and also the components of the cultures of excellence and research, and at the same time to capitalize the upshots and also the outcome that will benefit the the researchers and also universities. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, before we go further, let me just actually introduce you to our speaker today. All right, so we are very glad to have Professor Dr. R. Shaktivel, a professor from Department of Applied Mathematics, Bharathiar University, Coimbatore, India. All right, we are glad to have you here, Prof. All right, so for your information, Prof has been dealing with this academic world since 1997. So if I may say, I was maybe 16, 15, I'm not sure, Prof. So you have been actually, I would say, embarked into this academic world, more than 30 years or perhaps more, nearly 40 years, right, Prof?
Yes.
Yes. All right. So before we go further, all right, I would like to call upon our Associate Professor, Dr. Muhammad Shakir for his welcoming speech. Over to you, Dr. Shakir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Muliati, for very nice introductions. First of all, of course, we need to thanks to our honorable speaker for today, Professor Dr. R. Shaktivel, for accepting our invitation. Thank you very much, Prof.
Thank
I
you.
think we planned this one for quite some time, and finally we were able to make it this time, Prof. So basically, to Prof and all the friends, I believe that it's very important for us to have a great culture, especially as academics in regards to this research, because this is the fundamental parts that every academic should have at least to drive the university in the ends. Because like we mentioned by our moderator just now, the research drive many factors, not only in regards to our academics, but also economies and everything. Yeah? So we are bringing a very distinguished speakers today to help us to enlighten us in this regards, on how to actually we are able to create a great culture of research excellence in the ends. And not only that, I believe that today Prof. Shaktivel also will share to us on how to actually that we are able to produce a good paper in the ends, because as academics, I believe that everyone's love to publish, and we not only want to publish, but we want to publish in a very good journal. Okay, so I believe that there is a two parts, Prof, in these talks, perhaps, and with this, we hope that everyone's here. To all of my colleagues here that able to benefit from this speech. And thank you once again, Prof, for accepting our invitations. And I hope that this is not the end. This is not only also we are going to collaborate more in this regard, so that it might be in the future we can call you again, inshallah. Okay, so thank you very much.
Okay.
Pass to you back, Dr. Muliati.
All right, thank you so much for the highlights, Dr. Shakir. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I would like to call upon Professor Dr. R. Shaktivel for his sharing. Over to you, Prof.
Okay. So good afternoon to one and all present in the online meeting. So first of all, I thank to the director, Professor Sakir, for inviting me to deliver a series of lectures. And also, I'd like to say my thanks to Professor Muliati and the University of Technical Malaysia for providing me this opportunity to deliver a talk regarding with the research excellence and how to write the technical papers to publish in reputed international journals. So my first talk is related with the building a culture of research excellence among technical and engineering educators. So what are the strategies and what will be the outcomes? So the outline of my talk is, why should we do research? So normally we do research to strengthen the economy, society usage, and solving challenging problems in science and engineering. So that might be the reason I have to do research. And what's meant by research culture? Research cultures that includes behaviors, values, expectations, attitudes, and norms of our research communities. And what are the factors determining culture of research excellence? So there are three main factors that determines the culture of research excellence. The first one is institutional, and the second one is individual, and third one is leadership. And what are the constraints to become research culture excellence platforms? So that are invited talks, short courses, workshops, conferences, seminars, and presentations. So this will be the main factor for becoming the culture of research excellence. And strategies for research excellence is, the main important strategy is encourage interdisciplinary collaborations and teamwork. So this is the very important factor for achieving the research excellence in a research institution or in an university. And the final one is characteristics of culture excellence in research and how to maintain the research excellence. That is also very important thing. So once we reach the research excellence, and we have to maintain that research excellence. So what are the strategies to maintain the research excellence? Finally, I have given some conclusions about the outline of my talk. So there are three factors that determines the research culture excellence. The three important factors are institutional, individual, leadership. So this is the very important three factors. These three factors are interconnected to one another. So we cannot separate one factor alone. So if all the three factors we have to combine, then only we can attain the research excellence. So that's why these three factors are interconnected to each other. And the first one is institutional. The role of institution is very important to achieve the research excellence. So we have to plan and execute any research related programs. So that is more depending on the institution. So that is why we always put the institutional is an important factor for determining the research excellence. And the next one is individual. Individual means we need to hire high quality human resources. We need the high quality human resources. So that is individuals who are capable of implementing quality research and who are capable of publishing papers in reputed international journals, particularly in SCI and SCI expanded journals. So that is the related with the individuals. And the final one is, we need the committed and visionary leadership to guide and direct the university or institution to achieve a world-class university research. So that's why these three factors are very important one for achieving the research culture excellence in an institution or a company or an industry or a university. Okay. So there are three types of research. Research is majorly classified into three types. The first one is the basic research. The second one is the applied research. Third one is the developmental research. So when an institution wants to become a research excellence, these three types of researchers are research important. We need both basic, applied, and developmental research. Once if you have some only basic research, we cannot achieve the research excellence. Or if you have only applied research, or if you have only developmental research. So all these three things should be combined together to achieve the research excellence. So the basic research is theoretical research that could be expand the knowledge of an individual. So that will provide the foundation for further research. So always the innovations comes from the basic research. So we always need the basic research. And the next one is applied research. What we have achieved in the theory, particularly in the basic research, we have to implement that to solve the problems. That is the applied research. That is theories, methods, and techniques that are used to solve the problems. And the results based on the applied research have some practical use. And the final one is developmental research. So this is the final stage. We need to demonstrate the experimental demonstration are important for the developmental research. That means we have to take the results to the patent and what is the technological developments. That is the final stage, developmental research. So we have to explore the practical uses of research findings. So we cannot separate the research, these three separate. So we have to combine all these three to achieve the research excellence. We need always basic research, applied research, and developmental research. These are also interconnected with each other to achieve the research excellence. And research culture, different stages of development. Normally, the best research culture requires creating an environment that fosters creativity, collaboration, and innovations. Gestation, that is the initial stage that always related with the researchers, resources, and activities. Conducting that initial stage will be, we have to conduct the research and writing manuscripts. And the second stage is expansion, developing stage. That also contains the researchers, resources, and activities. In the second stage, we have to present papers and publish papers in standard journals. The final one is the maturation, flourishing stage. That also, in that final stage, we have the creation and we will have the patent and introducing the technologies. And strategies for research excellence. To enable research excellence, we have to plan focuses on 5 distinct strategies. First one is the main important thing is interdisciplinary cluster of research excellence. This is the very important thing an university want to achieve the research excellence. Always, we should not do only research alone. If you have the department in several electrical department means if you do in electrical engineering research alone, and if you do research in mechanical engineering alone, if you do research in physics, mathematics alone, and you cannot achieve the research excellence. You have to have the interdisciplinary clusters of research excellence. That is the collaborative clusters. That is the very important thing we can have achieve the research excellence. And also the research is mandatory for all the faculty members. All the faculty members, at least they have to engage in research. That is the second thing. And the third one is we have to motivate the students, graduate and undergraduate students, to do research in undergraduate level and PG level, postgraduate level. And in particular, students should be trained to do research. And also the faculties at the time of, during the class time, at least monthly once, we can just give some motivation to the students regarding the research related works. Whatever the subject we teach, at the end of the class, maybe monthly once, we can give some motivation to what we can do based on what we have studied and what we can do something this based on that kind of one research motivation. So that is also important. Then only students can involve in the research activities, because the undergraduate students do not normally, when they joined in the institutions, they do not know anything about the research. And at the end of the semester, final semester, and in the PG level, end of the final semester, we have to train the students to do the research, and we have to motivate them to do the research. We have to give some motivational speech to do the research for the students. And research culture platforms are short courses, conducting short courses, workshops, conferences, and these are the main platform for young researchers to show their abilities. And seminars, talks, lectures, this will help to platform, this is the important platform to meet experts in their domain. So that means we have to conduct the regularly workshops, universities or institutions to conduct regularly workshops, conferences, seminars, and invited lectures. They can invite some, top level scientists to deliver a lecture. So in that case, the students can meet the experts in their particular domain. And also encourage postgraduate students to attend and present papers in international conferences and workshops and seminars and short courses. And also we have to provide opportunities for discussions among students and faculties for exchange the ideas. What are the experience they are having and what are the problems and what are the challenges, and they can have discussions related to their studies. So that is, we have to provide such kind of opportunities at least monthly once or twice. The faculties and students can exchange their ideas. And also get together PhD scholars, research scholars, and senior postgraduate students together to share their ideas and research work. And also faculties and students, if they attend some kind of conferences or workshops, after completing their presentation, they can share their experience and what they have learned in that conferences and workshops. So this is one of the powerful way in developing research culture. And strengthen the research infrastructure. So this is also an important factor. This is from the institutional side. We have to build a strong research infrastructure. And also we have to provide necessary resources and support for the researchers, scholars and PhD students and undergraduate students, and those who are interested in doing research, postdoctoral students. So the institution should provide necessary resources and support, provide equipments, sufficient fund to conduct high quality research, and access to data, software, and other research related tools, whatever they need for the research activities, particularly laboratories, research equipments, and technologies. And hire highly qualified and experienced researchers. So they can help to guide the young researchers, and also they can guide to write the research proposals, particularly in the external funding. So this is also an important factor, hire highly qualified and experienced researchers in a particular domain. And invite highly qualified researchers for short-term visit to write research proposal and also to have joint research works with the research scholars and young researchers, particularly postdocs and newly joined faculty members. And also hire top talented researchers. This is also important. They can have their experience and their ideas to write the research proposals and to have the discussions with the researchers, those who are working in their area. So that is also one important factor to strengthen the research infrastructure. And establish collaborative partnership. This is also an important thing to exchange the knowledge, resources, and opportunities. So to have the collaborative partnership, collaborations with other universities, that is inside the country and outside the country. So collaborations with the other research institutions, collaborations with the industry, and we have to build strong networks to create a new research opportunities based on these institutions, industry partners and other institutions. And also stay up to date with the latest research trends. That is also very important things. We have to stay with up to date latest research trends. And collaborative research programs to promote innovation and research excellence. This is one very important things, because why I am telling this means I am a mathematician. I did my PhD in mathematics, but after that I learned something related with the engineering fields. Now I am having collaborations with the engineering, almost all the engineering areas. So then only we can have some kind of patent and what is that, some technological transfers. So that is why always I insist to do the collaborative research with different disciplinary faculties and different disciplinary research centers. And research collaborations, we can just divide difference into two: external research collaborations, and that it means only inside the institutions and university, and the second one is what is that, internal research collaborations. So what for the external research collaborations, that is university industry collaborations. External means if suppose we are in the country, so we can have with other universities and other industries in the country, and develop relations with researchers and the research teams who share similar interest in their research area. And as usual, here also we have to motivate the interdisciplinary collaborations with the industry and universities. So in that case, if they have some external research collaborations inside the country with industries and some universities, they can have some offline meeting yearly, twice or thrice, for the what they have done and what they can do and how, what are the contents, what are the strategies to implement the research. So they can have some offline meeting yearly, twice or thrice, monthly, twice or thrice. And if the online meeting also they can conduct monthly once to have the to discuss about the collaborations, what is the stage of the research, these kind of things. If it is possible, they can have offline, otherwise they can have the online meeting at least monthly once. And internal means inside the university, they can make one research club. They can with interdisciplinary research area, and they can have weekly meeting with research groups. And if they have some any new interesting results, share with each other that results. And particularly the continuous learning is important, up-to-date research problems in their fields. And particularly in the undergraduate students, can collaborate with established graduate students. And senior postgraduate students, they can collaborate with established research scholars. And the research scholars can have discussions weekly once or twice with the supervisors. This is the way for one way for applying the research strategy, because directly professors are maybe all busy with other teaching, some other academic works and administrative works. In that case, directly the students cannot have the research discussion with regularly undergraduate students and senior postgraduate students. In that case, graduate students, they can guide to undergraduate students, and senior postgraduate students, PhD scholars can guide to senior postgraduate students, and PhD research scholars, normally the supervisor used to guide, and at least the supervisor can have the meeting with research related meeting monthly once with their research group, particularly with undergraduate students, senior postgraduate students, and PhD research scholars. This is one important way for applying the good research excellence. And develop a culture of innovation. We have to emphasize the importance of disseminating research findings. That is a very important thing. We have to disseminate. We have to spread the research findings using the publications, conferences, and other means. Suppose we have some good papers and we have published, and you can just forward it to your research outside the countries to researchers through email. In that case, they can just see your results, and that will be helpful to others. In that case, they can use your results for some paperworks. In that case, automatically the citations will be increased. That is also one of the factors to determine the research excellence in universities. And also building an innovation culture that includes rewarding and recognizing innovative behavior. And as usual, here also we have to develop interdisciplinary collaborations and provide research-related training programs to faculty members and young research scholars, and train researchers to think creatively. And we have to work with external research teams to develop a culture of innovation So not only we work with the internal research team, we have to form an external research team and we have to work with them. And we have to encourage learning by providing various learning channels. Not only offline or online, so different learning channels to continuously improve and refine their skills. And promote knowledge transfer. This is also to encourage the dissemination of research findings. So we have to promote the knowledge transfer to industry partners, policy makers, and general publics. This can lead to development of new products and policies and services. And also we can transfer the knowledge to industry, government, and non-government organizations. And this will help us, the knowledge transfer will help us providing entrepreneurship and commercialization training programs. Leadership and research culture. So we have to building a research culture requires committed and visionary leadership. So encourage the researchers to interact with all their team members, enable them to reveal their individual talents, inspire motivations, stimulate, disseminate, influence. So that means always we need a committed and visionary leadership to guide to the institution. And maintaining the research excellence, good research practice and openness. So this is the main important things. We have to encourage open communications and collaboration between researchers, departments, and institutions. It can help to promote a culture of shared knowledge and creativity. So we have to give the award and incentives. This will help to speed up the research progress. These are the important factors to maintain the research excellence. And if someone is obtaining the project, so we have to give some kind of incentives. If we can fix the ceiling for this much amount of project is received from the external funding, so we can provide some incentives. And if they have some papers in reputed journals, some kind of SCAES expanded journals in the top Q1 journals, we can give some kind of incentives to the researchers. And also good infrastructure for collaborations, and also for seek external funding, governmental agencies, private foundations, and industry partners. And research requires significant financial resources, that is university funding. Normally, so university can fund for the research scholars for doing the PhD program. And also we have to prioritize the research areas of funding. So what are the emerging research area? So we have to provide the funding. We have first to prioritize and we have to provide the research fund for the emerging research area. So not common to all kind of research. And you can someone is having some highly cited researcher identified in your institutions, they can give some university award. So these are all the ways to maintain the researchers in the institutions. And in that case, once if you maintain the high standard research in the institution, automatically that will attain the research excellence. And also you can give some kind of seed money to newly joined faculty members to promote or to speed up their research progress. And also if the researchers publish papers in high impact factor journals, particularly in the top level journals, Nature and Science, you can give some kind of incentives to that researcher. And also providing some funding for submission of papers to SCI and SCI journals. In that case, we have to be very careful about submitting papers to the open access journals. So many of the open access journals are not reviewing the papers. Once they receive they're not sending for review. And we have to send only the papers to standard open access journals. So only standard open access journals are sending the papers to review, and based on the review report, they are accepting the papers. So that means once if you want to maintain the research excellence, the universities or institutions, always they should have research papers in a reputed top one Q1 journals. And also the universities or institutions can invite the top level scientists that they can provide some support funding from the institutions. And if someone is having good research papers and published papers in top level journals, and if they just receive research funding, external funding, large research funding, we can just restructure the workload, and we have to recognize their achievements and celebrate the success. and everyone's contribution should be appreciated. And also we have to instruct to publish papers in reputed Q1 journals and offer benefits and work-life balance. And research and innovation need diversity. So equality, diversity and inclusions are essential for the creative, collaborative and dynamic research. And characteristics of culture excellence in research is, there are 5 components of the culture of excellence in research. The first one is the total expenditure of research and number of innovations, number of researchers, grant research allocation, commercialization of research output. These are the 5 components of the culture of excellence in research. And researchers have different indicators for successful research. So the first one is the culture of research working condition and research fund, infrastructure, access and collaborations. And also the research guidelines and policies for incentives, publication opportunities. And also the institutional, if someone is having some research project and research fund, if they want to invite somebody, the top talented person to deliver a lecture or talk or have discussions, so there should be there should not be any strict guidelines to invite the researcher. So that the policies that should be little liberal. So if they think that they can, what the professors are having the research fund, they want to invite the collaborators, then they can just invite them, just informing to the university. So there should not be any strict guidelines. So this should be for spending their research fund to invite the foreign researchers, particularly in their domain. And benefits to the researchers, recognition and career opportunities. So once if a researcher publishes papers in top level journals, he could be recognized by worldwide, and there is a big good career opportunities and innovations and creativity, and they can enhance personal reputation, a change from routine and opportunity to do something different, and networking, and they can have some good network and collaborations. And benefits to the universities, they can have some innovation and growth. They can have some patent and technological transfers, and also the universities or institutions become popular among national and international levels, and then the reputation and credibility can be maintained. So these are the benefits to the universities once if they become good in research excellence. And world-class ranking, if the university wants to world-class ranking, the main important factor is the research-related works. So how much papers have been published, how much times the papers are cited, and how much the universities are having H-index, and how much the fundings outside the universities from the industry or the universities are received. And these are the main factors in research related factors to become a university as a world-class in ranking. So mainly the citations, these are also these days very important, that relates the research influence of an institution or university or the individual. So the H-index, how much H-index do you have that based, how much citations do you have? These are the main factors influence the universities to become a research excellence. And high quality research papers, that also very important. So you have the top Q1 journals, you can have a good ranking, they can have some good points to elevate the university to the world-class ranking. And also we should have the patents, university should have the technology transfers. These are all the main factors to become an university as a world-class ranking related with research activities. And finally, I have given some conclusion about my talk. So committed and visionary leadership is very, very important to an institution to become a research excellence. As I told you, the leadership, committed leadership and visionary leadership to guide and direct the universities to achieve the world-class university in research. And also hire highly qualified and experienced researchers. These are also important things to an university wants to become research excellence. And another important factor, key strategies for building a research excellence culture is interdisciplinary collaborations. These are the most very important things, and teamwork. So these are not only from faculties but also from the student side. They can have some interdisciplinary collaborations and teamwork. And finally, faculties and students, if they go for some conferences or some workshops or something like that, so they have to present their research work, and then finally they can share their experience. This is also one of the way powerful in developing. If they find some any new idea, they can share with their research groups. This is one of the powerful way in developing research culture. And research should be responsive to the changing needs and demands of the society. That is, we have to choose a hot research topic. Once, if you want to become the universities or institutions want to become the research excellence, the researchers, the university do some research in the changing needs and demands of the society. That is the hot research topic. What are the needs for the society? So it is also an important thing. And also the researchers should publish high quality research papers to become the research excellence for patents and technology transfers. And also they have to build a strong infrastructure for research, and they can appoint some what is the top level visiting professors as a visiting professor to guide the young researchers and to guide them to write the research proposals. For all these things are very important to become an institution and a research excellence. So, Muliati. So these are that is the main individual, institutional, and leadership. These are the three things in achieving an university in achieving a research excellence. Professor Shagir and Muliati. Yes.
Thank you so much, Prof.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I think that will be the end for part 1.
Yes.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, all right, thank you so much, Prof, for the sharing. So, ladies and gentlemen, and there is one thing that I actually forgot to mention to all of you at the beginning of the event. Professor Dr. Shaktivel is a very prominent professor in India, as his the total numbers of the total number of citation is almost 14,000, if I'm not mistaken, Prof.
Yes, okay, thank you.
That's it.
Thank you.
That will be an enormous number.
Thank you.
Then your H index is set at 60, I believe.
Yes, it's around 60. Yes, around 60. Yeah.
Okay, that is for the H index. Okay, now ladies and gentlemen, how about his I-10 index will be 300, correct?
Yes, Muliati.
Oh, that's a big number, Prof. All right, so I will also know that, Prof, you have been actually, acknowledged from your university as the highly cited researcher in the year 2017,
1894,
2018.
continuously, yes.
Yes, and if I may say, up to now. It started from 2017 and up to now.
Yes.
That is very impressive, Prof.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right,
so
so
much.
ladies and gentlemen, Academic of UTeM, do you have any question to ask to Prof. Shaktivel? Maybe the tricks and also the trick how actually he is able to produce a very excellent article and so on. Any question from the floor? From the screen? Okay, let me just see the chat if we have any question. No question at the moment, Prof.
No questions.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So, since there will be no question, Prof, is it okay for us to take a 5 minutes break before we actually go to the second session for today?
Okay, 5 minutes is enough.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, so we are going to have a break for 5 minutes,
Okay.
and we will come back around 3:20.
3:20, okay. 3:20, yes.
All right. Okay, thank you so much. We will see you afterward, Prof.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so for UTeM's Academy, if you have any question, maybe you can just actually post a question in the chat box.
Yes.
Or perhaps you can just actually, raise your hand and ask question. All right, thank you. We'll see you, Prof.
Okay,
Right,
fine.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, Academy of UTeM, Alright, so we are going for the second session on the topic of the art of writing scientific papers. I believe, Prof, this is the topic that most of us long for, Prof, because there is actually tips and trick on how we are going to write a very good scientific papers. For your information, Prof, in our university, we are one of the, I would say, a technical university in Malaysia. So most of our field actually we are dealing with technical, engineering and vocational. So to have these types of I would say tricks or maybe tips and tricks on writing a scientific papers, which will somehow ensure to be to be accepted in a journal of with the Scopus index, index Scopus, and that will be something that we are looking for. All right, so Prof, I think without further ado, I would like to call upon for you to proceed.
Okay. Okay. So the title of the second talk is The Art of Writing Scientific Papers, or how to write research papers to publish in reputed international journals. So the outline of my talk is why do we write papers and publish, how to choose research problem and field, preparations before start writing the papers. So what are the types of manuscripts and structure of research articles, and how to make the reference styles, and what will be in the review process, how the review process of the journals are going, and how to revise the paper's response to reviewers. And finally, I have given some conclusions about this outline. So why do we write papers and publish? So the primary concern for publishing the papers is if we get some funding from public or government, so we have to write some papers and we have to go for patent and we have to do it as a technology transfers, and it should be useful to the society, that is contribute to the nation building and to get the degree and share their research work with research community, and it could be reusable and get funding, get promoted. So for it, these are the reasons to write papers and publish. And how to choose research problems. First, we have to identify leading research groups in your field using your supervisors and colleagues, and find out their recent research focus and choose the problems based on it. So we have to always choose a hot research topics, and normally the research publications largely depends on the selected problem. And after your research, more people will continue. So that means you have opened the door. Then you can have some kind of citations and H index that will be helpful to career development, and also that will be helpful to the university. That is why I always insist the young researchers to choose hot research topic. Once if you publishing papers, and someone should follow your research work. And if you choose the very old research problems, if nobody can follow it, then that means you have closed the door. You close the door. So nobody cares about your research work. So that's why always we have to choose the hot research topic for doing the research work. And what are preparations before start writing? Check the originality of your idea. So you have some papers and you have done some new works, and first you have to done something new and interesting. You have to check yourself. And is there any challenging in your work, or you have overcome some difficulties with the existing works? And if your answer is yes, then you can go for preparations of paper writing. So that means you have already some paper works and you have the improved results. That means the existing works are the special cases of your results. In that case, you can go for writing the papers. So that before writing the papers, so you have to analyze yourself that you have done something new and interesting, and you have overcome the difficulties by the existing works, and is there any improved results compared with the existing results? If the answer is yes for all these questions, then you can start preparing your manuscript. And before preparations of the start writing the manuscript, first you have to decide the type of your manuscript. So there are several types of manuscripts: original research articles, full articles, letters, rapid communication, short communication. So there are several research article types of manuscripts. So you have to choose your review articles also available. You have to choose which category your work is suitable. So is it sufficient for a full article, or your results is so thrilling that need to be shown as soon as possible for the rapid publications? That you have to discuss with your supervisor and colleagues for advice on manuscript type. And sometimes if you submit the paper to some journals as a full articles, sometimes the editors or associate editors or sometimes the reviewers also suggest to choose different types of manuscripts, but that will take some time, because once you submit paper to full articles and it goes for review, and then they can request you to change to some short communication, means it is a time consumption. That is why always I insist the youngsters, research scholars, before sending the papers to some full articles or original research or short communications, you can discuss with your research colleagues and supervisors, and you can decide this is more suitable to this. You can save the time for publishing the papers. And also, before submitting in a particular journal, you have to read the guidelines for the journals to prepare your manuscript. So even in the first draft itself, you have to follow the guidelines of the journals. So that will save your time and the editors also. If you are not following the guidelines and if you submit the paper to the journal, then maybe after 1 month or 2 months, the associate editor or the technical team will send back to your papers. So your paper is not in the format of the journal. So you have to change the draft, and so it is a waste of time. So that is why always before submitting the papers, we have to read the guidelines and prepare the manuscript. And all editors hate wasting time on poorly prepared manuscripts. So you have to follow strictly the rules of the journal's guidelines. And you know that the different journals have different guidelines, and different publishers have different guidelines. You have the Elsevier, Wiley, Springer, IEEE. So every journal has a different guidelines and different styles for all the references, abstract and conclusions, main results. So that is why before submitting the paper to some journals, you have to follow the guidelines, and based on that guidelines, you have to prepare the paper. So this is the general structure of an article. Normally, we will have the title, authors, abstract and keywords. And the next one is main text, introduction, problem formulations, results and discussions. Finally, we can have the acknowledgements, conclusions, references. These are the normally general structure of a research article for all the journals. And when you construct an article, title should be very, very important. Title of the journal should be a very important one. So, title should contain the only fewest possible words that adequately describe the content of the paper. So, the title of the paper should be very short. So, that means you have to identify the main issue of the paper in the title, and that should begin with the subject of the paper, and the title should attract the reader. And also the same title should not be repeated. You should be very careful about before submitting the paper to some journals. And you have to go through the Scopus or some Google Scholar or something like that. You have to check whether the same title is available in the same title is available in the literature. So if the same title is repeated, sometimes the associate editor or editor will not go send it to review. They think that this paper is already published, so they should send back to you and reject the paper. So that's why you have to select a title, and also it should not be repeated, and it should be more appropriate to the paper, and it should contain only few words, and it's more related to the research work what you have done. And authorship, you know that the authorship, so first author, corresponding author, and who initiated the study, that will be the first author and contributed. So this is, you can just after your work, you can decide it, the first author or second author or corresponding authors, these things. And construction of an article. So next one is abstract. This is an advertisement of your article. It's very important part of the paper. This is used to decide whether they read the rest of the paper or not. So normally when you submit the paper to the journal, always the editor-in-chief go through the paper. So they will only read the abstract and conclusions and some main contributions. So when they are reading the abstract, they are not convinced with the abstract, they will reject the paper. So that is why, so this is an advertisement. You have to give the whole content. So main findings, everything, what are the contents, whole contents in your paper, whole paper, you should briefly write in the abstract. So everything should be included in the abstract. So that means main findings, results, and that should be keep it as brief as possible, and it should be more accurate and specific abstract, and also it should be interesting and understandable, and summarize the problems, methods, results, and conclusions in a single paragraph. So abstract is an advertisement, as I told you. It contains many journals have the structured abstract. Only we have to restrict the words of the abstract. Maximum 200 words or 250 words. So you have to complete the abstract within the 200 or 250 words. That is very important things. So whenever we make the abstract, it should convenience and it should contains the whole in a brief way, whole content of the paper, what you are having the, what is the whole content of the research, what you have in the papers. So that is why we have to write in a proper way abstract. So once if abstract is not convinced, abstract is not good, then immediately the paper will be rejected by the editor or associate editor, or sometimes even the reviewer also reject the paper once after reading the abstract. Abstract is not more related to the paper, and if we suppose if the abstract is poorly written, the paper will be returned back to you. So the quality of an abstract will strongly influence the editor decisions for the preliminary process. Next one is keyword. So this is also an important thing that represents the content of the manuscript related to the topics of the manuscript. So it is used, the keywords are used to classify, categorize, organize the content of a manuscript. So most of the journals need 4 to 8 keywords. Some journals, the journal itself, they have the keyword. So we have to only select the keywords when we are submitting the paper to the journals. Some journals only we can give the keyword whatever we have in the manuscript, but some journals we have to give both, whatever the keywords, what are the keywords we are having in the manuscript, and also at the same times we have to choose the appropriate keywords from the journal web page itself. And they have given only limited, they normally used to give only limited keywords, and we have to choose the appropriate keywords for our work. So these are the very important things. And also we have to avoid the keywords that has only one word. So this will also important things. Suppose a keyword has only one word, usually it is better to avoid. You have at least 2 to 3 words. Keyword should be contains 2 to 3 words. So only normally we have to give the appropriate keywords, whatever the work you have, what are the contents in your work, because normally the editor will assign the associate editors based on the keywords, because all the associate editors, they have mentioned their research related work, research related with the keywords. Once the associate editor-in-chief decide based on the keywords, so this paper is more suitable to this AE, and this paper is more suitable. That's why we have to give the appropriate keywords in the journal, in the paper. And construction of an article. So contains a clear, useful, and exciting scientific message. So that means introduction typically should be moving from general to specific. So in the construction of an article, introduction part, you have to give the existing works. First one is existing works. And what are the difficulties in the existing works? And how did you overcome the difficulties in this existing work? And what are the main contributions you have derived in your research? You have to give point to point. So at least 4 or 5 points. What are the main contributions you have done in your work? And also to help readers, these all will help readers understand the paper. And also you have to mention the importance of the research in the first main contributions. And articles in some fields tend to have short introductions, a few paragraphs or less, a common structure, information on important topic, and also you have to highlight the relevant previous research in the introduction part. And you have to identify the unanswered questions, what are the difficulties and what are the drawbacks, and how did you overcome the drawbacks, and in that particular paper. Next, construction of an article. How to formulate the problems. Identify a broad research area of interest and broad area into sub-area, then select one of the sub-area and read the articles relevant to sub-area, raise research questions, and you have to formulate the problem. This is the way of formulating the problem. So you have to come from the broad research area to relevant to sub-area, and finally you can formulate the research problem formulations or system description. And results and discussions, what have you found? The following should be included in this part. Main findings listed in the association with the methods, difference between your results and the previous publications, the core of the paper, often includes tables, figures, or both. Some journals combine the results and discussions together. And results of performance analysis, especially in the methodology or algorithm papers, often should begin with a brief summary of the main findings. And you have to answer the question stated in the introduction. A reader should reproduce the results. That is important things. The result and discussion section, whatever you give, the reader should reproduce the result. And new terms not already defined are mentioned in your paper. Sometimes the new terms is not already defined. You have to completely mention in your paper. And also in the results and discussion section, it is better to include illustrations and figures. These are the very important things you have to include in your research papers. And also in the main results and discussion section and also in the manuscript, you have to give a figure. Figure is worth of 1,000 words. You can mention your whole work at least based on few figures. So then based on that figure, the reviewer can easily identify that he has any improved work or something, some improved accuracy or something like that. Based on the figure, he can easily identify without reading the whole paper. So that means you have the theory and you can develop the simulations. Most efficient way to represent the results is figures and tables, and avoid including too much information in one figure. So if you are representing the results through the figure, you have to include only few information in one figure. Another figure you can include some other information. Only if you include 3-4 informations only one figure, then the reviewer will get confused. So it's better to avoid too much information in one figure. And also when you give the figures, you have to follow the journal's instructions. Okay, so this much size and what is the resolution, everything you should follow the journal's instruction. And also next one is theory, simulations, and the developed results are connected with real-time systems. So and also we can have some kind of experimental setup. And the conclusion part. This is also an important things in the paper writing. And we have to present global and specific conclusions in relation to the objectives, indicate uses, extensions, and limitations if appropriate, suggest future works related to the present study. So this is the conclusion. So sometimes many people's what they used to do, they write the abstract and conclusions as same, and it is better to rewrite the abstract and conclusion differently. In the abstract part, that should be different, and the conclusion part you can give the what can we do in future based on the existing work. That is, in the abstract part you cannot give the future work and limitations, but what are the future works could be done based on the proposed results and limitations of the proposed results. This could be given in the abstract part, but this could be given in the conclusion part, but in the abstract part you should not give all these things. So only you have to give what you have achieved, that is in the abstract part. And in the future works and limitations, these are all should be included in the conclusion part. That's next construction of an article. Pay attention to the following. Don't mix introduction, problem formulation, main results, experimental and simulation results, and conclusion. So you have to keep them everything separately. Introduction should be separately. Problem formulation should write separately, main results should be separately, experimental, everything should be in the separate paragraph. You should not mix all this in a single one page or in the whole manuscript. And also when you are preparing the paper, citing the relevant references is very, very important. You should not write the irrelevant references in the manuscript. Sometimes if you if you provide the irrelevant references and suppose AE or editor-in-chief, even sometimes reviewer also find, then they will reject the paper immediately. So always I insist the youngsters to give the appropriate relevant references to the paper. What are the relevant references that are more relevant to the current work? So we have only cite the relevant references. Next, acknowledgements. Acknowledgements is a chance to thank people who have helped you, technical help and English revision and funding organizations, affiliation to projects and programs, reviewers and editors. Especially sometimes in the revised manuscript, they will give some suggestions, means you can give some acknowledgement, unknown reviewers and unknown editors. And also ask permission from those who will be acknowledged with their names mentioned and state clearly why they are acknowledged, include the grand number of the references. This all contents should be given in the acknowledgement part. And references. So the references part is also very important. That references are always depending on the journal format. So several journals having, many journals having different format, reference format. For example, sometimes the spelling of author names, the year of publications, punctuation use, these are all different from, it is in different form in different journals. So avoid citing the following. For example, unpublished observations, manuscripts submitted but not yet accepted for publications, many conference papers. Normally, suppose if you have 40 to 50 references, it is better to give 1 or 2 conference papers if it is more relevant to your work. If it is not necessary, you no need to give the more conference papers. And also, you have to give 2 to 3 papers, reference papers from the same journal which you are going to submit the paper. That is very important things, because always the editor will think that any papers related to this particular paper is published in his journal, so that he will check the reference list. So always I insist the students, research scholars, to give at least 2 or 3 references relevant to the work, and also it should be in the journal which you are going to submit the paper. And also avoid references that are difficult to find. Suppose if you want to use some very old references, 1940 and 1950, and even if you could not see that references in a hard copy format, it is better to avoid them, because some papers are just to follow, just putting the references, but they have not seen any references. It is very old references, 40 or 50, something like that. So that is, always avoid the references that are difficult to find. And it is very important things. And also you have to do not give your more papers of yours in the reference list. Suppose you have 40 references, you can give at least 1 or 2. It is relevant to your current paperwork. If your previous works are not relevant to the current paperwork, it is important to not include such kind of references, and avoid listing related references that were not important to the study. And if you know that the different journals have different reference styles, this is the format of IE journals. So everything, it is, when you prepare the paper, you should follow each command, everything you should follow in the journal format. For example, here there is abbreviation, IE trans, FASI, so you should follow this one, because we are going for IEEE journals. This is the format, volume number and page, and yearly, end you have the year and the month. So you have to strictly follow the reference styles for all the journals. Otherwise, the reviewer, associate editor and editor will reject the paper. Okay. So this is the reference style for Elsevier journal. This is the reference style for Springer journal. So every journal, Springer and Elsevier and IEEE, every journal has publishers have different reference style. And we have to follow their reference style. If you want to publish papers to Springer, you have to follow the reference style of Springer. If you want to publish communicate paper to Elsevier, you have to follow the reference style of Elsevier. And Wiley, So this is also another one publisher. So in the while you have some different structure of references, and you have to follow that structure of references. And some technical details. Keep it consistent throughout the manuscript. And it is better to use LaTeX Word. Okay, LaTeX is an important software. This could be useful to type the documents and book, particularly for mathematical. If you have the mathematics notations, this LaTeX software will be very much useful, because if you type in the Word and the alignment will be totally, but in the LaTeX, if you whatever you type, it automatically it will align, and also the appearance of the manuscript will be very important for the reviewers. Once if you go for typing in the using the LaTeX, the whole papers will be in a good looking. So that is why always I insist the students to write the papers based on the LaTeX software, and also number the lines if the journals requires to do. Some journals requires the number, so you have to follow their journal format. Whatever you prepare in the preparation for the manuscript, that totally should follow the journal format. What journal requires, we have to do it. Otherwise, if you don't, if you change, suppose reference style, if you put a common reference style for all Elsevier, Springer and IEEE journals, when you submit the papers after few days, maybe 5, after the AI checking the papers, or some technical teams also used to these days check the papers, and they will immediately send back to you. Then again, you have to make the reference in that journal format. So that is why when you are typing the manuscript initial stage itself, it is better to follow all the contents and all the related things to the journal format, and make the manuscript as good as possible before submission. And no one gets it right the first time writing, so we have to write and rewrite. So after writing the first version, you have to take several days rest, and then again read the paper. So then you can find some corrections. So normally what the researchers used to do is, once you write some paper, and if you make the corrections, and finally you can keep it for 1 or 2 weeks, and you engage with some other research works, then again you can take that previous paper, and if you go through it, you can find some mistakes. So only reading again and again the same papers, we cannot find the some kind of mistakes. Only you can keep it for a few days, and you can go engage with some other research related works, and in between time, if you just go through the previous paper, you can find some kind of mistakes in that previous paper. That is why if continuously reading the papers and continuously making the corrections of one manuscript, it is not good. So you have to keep it for several days, and again refresh your brain with different things, and again go for rechecking the journals, rechecking the work. And submission process. So before going to the submission process, some few journals are asking the cover letter and statement of contributions and highlights, and also manuscripts according to the journal prescribed format. And some journals, they ask the highlights with only 125 characters, particularly this ISA transaction, there is one reputed journal. In that journal, they request only 125 characters. If suppose the highlights is 126 character, then the paper will be rejected. So that is why you have to strictly follow the journal's instruction to prepare the manuscript. And cover letter. In the cover letter, basic information should be included. So editor's name, originality of submission, no competing financial interests, mention significance or special points in the cover letter. Next, choose the right journal. So this is an important, it plays a major role. If you've done some work, you have to choose the exact right journal. Supervisor and colleagues can provide good suggestions. So first, you have to ask your supervisors and your colleagues and your co-worker and to discuss with him for which journal this manuscript is more suitable. And that is, if you aim scope accepted types of articles, current hot topics, and you can go through that particular journal if you want to submit particular journal, and what are the past few years, what are the types of articles accepted, and you can go through that and you can find if some works relevant to your paper has been accepted or has been published recently, then you can choose that journal. So that is choosing the right journal is very, very important, and in that case the process, what is the review process, will be very fast. And if you do not choose the appropriate journal, so normally the technical team will check the other technical details when you submit the manuscript. The next stage it will go to the editor-in-chief. Editor-in-chief, what he used to do, he will send it to the associate editor. And sometimes the associate editor will think that this work is not suitable to this journal, means then immediately he may reject. Sometimes editor-in-chief used to reject it. Sometimes editor-in-chief think that this is more appropriate and he will send it to AE. So this process will take more than 1 month for some journals. So that is why if you want to reduce the time for publications, it is better to choose the right journal. And if you submit once, then it should go for the review. So you have to, by experience, you can easily understand this work would be more suitable to this channel. And also the reference list, as I told you, suppose if you are submitting to particular journals, at least you can give one or two or three references from the same journal. So that will likely to lead you to the right journal. Suppose, and also you can go through the reference list, what you have cited in your paper, and also that is also very much helpful to you to choose the right journal, because the similar works you have done, something similar to that previous work, and that work is included in the reference style, means reference that you can submit the paper to that particular journal. And also read the guidelines for others. It should be open access or subscription. Yes, that is very important things. When you're submitting the papers, you have to be very careful about all the journals these days. By mistake, it asks open access or subscription. If you just choose subscription, once if it is assigned as a subscription, then takes time. Later you find it is not, my paper is by mistake I have done as a subscription, means then it is not easy to do it. So when you are submitting initially the paper, it is better to choose the option subscription. And convert your manuscript perfectly with the style required for the journal. So that is the important things, including the fonts, line spacing, arrangement of tables and figures, word limits, everything should be in the journal style. And also you have to choose the journal based on the impact factors. That is very, very important things. If and the predatory journals, so these days there are several predatory journals. Normally what the open access journals, predatory journals. Open access journals, they used to charge fees and actually they send the papers to review. But predatory journals, what they are not reviewing the papers, only they are charging the publication fee, and without sending they are not having the proper review. But in the good journals, SE1, Q1 journals and Q2 journals and SE expanded journals, always they have a standard review process. At least they used to send to 3 to 4 reviewers, and based on that review report, they will take the decision of the paper whether we have to accept this paper or not. But if you submit the paper to predatory journals, most of the journals are not sending the paper to review, or even though sometimes if they send it for review, only with mild report, they used to accept the paper. So that's why I always insist the young researchers to submit paper to only SE and SE expanded journals. And also submitting paper to one journal, and if you do multiple submissions, so that is an what is that? That is the
All right, so I believe there is some technical issue related to Prof. Shaktivel's side. Prof, are you there, Prof? All right, so perhaps we can just actually hold for few minutes for Prof. Shaktivel to be back with us. So alright, so academics UTeM, maybe we can just wait a few minutes, huh? Alright. Can you hear me? Yes.
Okay.
I can hear you, Prof.
Okay. Okay, shall I
Alright, so
start?
welcome back. Alright,
Okay.
so no problem, Prof. Welcome
Okay.
back,
It's
Prof.
okay
I
now.
believe there
Okay.
is
It's okay. Maybe suddenly the network is disconnected. So there is no. Okay.
Alright. Okay,
Okay.
Prof, could you just actually switch on your camera?
But still there is some problem in the network.
Wait,
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear
Yes,
me?
we can hear you.
Okay.
Yes, we can hear you clearly, Prof.
Okay. Okay. So, okay. So shall I continue? Shall I continue?
You may, but is there any problem with the camera of yours? Prof? Okay, Syam? Okay, alright semua, rakan-rakan akademik, so bagi pihak CAES, kami mohon maaf. So kalau mengikut, kalau mengikut Prof. Sakti, isu masih lagi tak dapat diselesaikan. Okay, so he won't be able to be with us today. So saya rasa, okay, pertemuan kita untuk hari ini sampai sini sajalah. Alright, so thank you so much. Terima kasih untuk kehadiran semua rakan akademik pada hari ini. Thank you so much for your participation. Alright, so I think it's already the end of the event. Yet I believe that we have gained so much actually from Prof. Shaktivel. Alright, so before we end,
Ya, Doktor.
Okay, alright, so terima kasih semua bagi pihak CAES, kami mengucapkan ribuan terima kasih sekali lagi. Dan untuk rakan-rakan akademik wanita saya mengucapkan selamat menyambut Hari Wanita Sedunia. Alright, supaya apa juga apa
Hari
juga
Wanita.
contribution apa juga contribution kita especially sebagai wanita untuk bidang engineering ke, technical, social science akan lebih dihargai. Alright, okay, jumpa lagi. Terima kasih semua.
Ya, kita buat sesi
Assalamualaikum.
lain tak?
Terima kasih ya.